you guys can call me crazy, but I'm not saying this is gonna happen. Mm-hmm. But I think the Patriots have a chance to do something similar to what the Commanders did this past season with the amount of assets they're going to have in this offseason. They have $119 million in cap space. Their free agents are Jonathan Jones, Jacoby Brissett, and Dietrich Wise. Those are their three best ones, which means that they're able to splurge in free agency. And you look at their needs: wide receiver, guard, offensive tackle, nose tackle, cornerback. I created a dream offseason for the Patriots, and I signed a ton of great players. So I signed Josh Sweat. I signed DJ Reed. I signed BJ Hill. I signed Kevin Zeitler. I signed Ronnie Stanley, who might not be back with the Ravens. And I drafted Ted McMillan. So the Patriots roster would be Drake May, Ramondre Stevenson, Pop Douglas, Ted McMillan, Hunter Henry, Ronnie Stanley, Cole Strange, David Andrews, Kevin Zeitler, Michael Nwenu. Then their defense: Keanu White, B.J. Hill, Christian Barmore, Josh Sweat, Jelani Tavai, Christian Gonzalez, DJ Reed, Marcus Jones, Kyle Duggar, Jabril Peppers, Marte Mapu. I mean, this is a really good team. Like, I think the Patriots have a chance. Like, I'm not saying these are the free agents they're going to sign, but the Patriots have a chance to, if they want, they can get Josh Sweat and they could get Milton Williams. They could get DJ Reed. I mean, they have the ability to sign like 5 to 8 quality plus starters for their team on top of the high-end draft capital that they do have as well. So this team could turn around fairly quickly, and this could be a team that competes for the AFC East next year.
And on top of that, they have a guy. Like, they have a guy at quarterback, and I think that's the most important part of the conversation. You know, I think what we got lost in last year is just assuming and believing in Caleb Williams and just being the guy day one. And in reality, it was Jaden that was the guy from day one. And even though Caleb had the infrastructure that we thought and he had the roster, he also had issues that we kind of just looked over. And I think with Drake May, a lot of the stuff last year got swept under the rug because, you know, it's New England. They weren't winning, but he played a damn good, you know, season for a guy who didn't have much to work with. And I agree with you. I think this, if they want to go in that direction, they definitely can. You have $120 million in cap space, and you have a good draft capital for this season where you can make some moves. And on top of that, they have some young talent. It's nothing crazy, but you have a high-end corner in Christian Gonzalez, an elite corner, in my opinion, in Christian Gonzalez. You have the quarterback at Drake May. I love Mike Vrabel. Is Josh McDaniels a great offensive coordinator? We'll see.
He is a great OC, yes.
Yeah, we'll see. But I think, for me, like, they don't have many key departures like Dietrich Wise, Austin Hooper, Jonathan Jones was the most notable guys I've seen. So they're not losing a ton. Now you can just add on. And it's beautiful when you can add on and not lose anything. And I think that's the most important part for New England. You have the number 4 pick in the draft. So what if Travis Hunter heads over to New England? Now you got Travis Hunter, Christian Gonzalez on the outside. Travis Hunter's probably going to get a good amount of wide receiver packages, but for the most part, you have 2 stout corners already, and they're young. They're on rookie deals. Now you're bringing in the DJ Reed to be that third guy that can come in, kind of give you that veteranship and also not be the number 1 corner for you. You can bring in, maybe you can go out and get a T. Higgins if he is available. Maybe you can buy low on a Stephon Diggs deal. You know, I think they have all the makings of being that team. It's just the AFC is so tough, man. I mean, the AFC has, you know, you think the Bengals are going to come back. That's another team that's trying to get back into the playoff push. Pittsburgh's always hanging around. Indianapolis, Houston's trying to make another push for a playoff. Like, there's just so many teams. Then you got to deal with Buffalo in your own division. So you have to make a lot of really good moves that can kind of toot you in that direction. But you have the 2 most important things, in my opinion. I think you have the coach, and I love Mike Vrabel as a coach. And I think you have the quarterback, and I think Drake May is that guy.
Yeah, they already made the best move of the offseason. That was hiring Mike Vrabel. It feels like with that hire alone, you have like a floor of like 7 wins just for what Mike Vrabel has done throughout his career, what he's done in Tennessee, bringing them to number 1 seeds with less than ideal talent, specifically at the quarterback position. And now you have a guy like Drake May, who I think could be, everything goes right, he could be a top 10 quarterback as soon as next season. But I think the ideal situation is you go out there and you make a big splash in free agency at wide receiver. Can you get a T. Higgins? To a lesser extent, can you go and trade for a Deebo Samuel? Are the Steelers fed up with George Pickens? Would you want to bring him in there? How will he mesh with Mike Vrabel? But to really make a splash in free agency, I think at the end of the offseason, you're going in and Kayshon Boutte and Demario Douglas are your wide receivers 3 and 4 instead of your 1 and 2. Can you go out there and get 2 receivers, whether that's the free agency or the draft, to put you in a position where Drake May has some real weapons here at wide receiver. And then in free agency, of course, you got guys like Trey Smith. You mentioned Ronnie Stanley. They have so much money to do really whatever the hell they want. We could sit here for hours and go through every situation because they'll be in the market for every single free agent on both sides of the ball because, number one, they have the money. And number two, the roster isn't that good. That's why the free agents, they don't have a ton because they don't have a ton of talent. But I think what's most interesting is once we get past free agency, at number 4, they could kind of control the draft, right? Because 1, 2, and 3, this is a world if we live in where Stafford's on the Giants and only one quarterback goes. At number 4, they have the possibility of moving down to a plethora of teams who want to move up. Are they going to want to do business with the Jets in their own division? Probably not. But the Raiders at number 5 or 6, number 6, the Saints a couple of picks down the road. There's multiple teams that could be in the market to possibly trade up and get their quarterback. And now you're sitting there at 4. You can move back and still get a Will Campbell to help the offensive line or a Luther Burden to help the wide receiver room. You could pick up an extra second-round pick to draft a Amarian Hampton or a Travion Henderson because I think you can make an upgrade at running back too, even though you paid Ramondre Stevenson. He's like a average to below average running back in the league, and all the fumble issues he had last season too. I don't think that's going to rock out that well with Mike Vrabel. You fumble the ball, you're going to get pulled. So they have unlimited assets this year. And being at number 4 in the draft, they could sit and pick. They could take a Ted McMillan. They could take a Travis Hunter if he falls. They're in a really, really good position. And outside of other years when we talk about teams who have all the cap space and a top 5 pick and a quarterback we like, getting Mike Vrabel just makes me feel so comfortable about where this team is going and the floor of this team. What their ceiling is, I don't know, because you're adding a lot of talent in 1 year. And and Vrabel, of course, has been a head coach in the past. McDaniels has been offensive coordinator for years and years and years. But to bring all that talent together in one offseason, it's hard to go from worst to first. But in the AFC, they could compete for the final wild card spot, right? I don't think they're going to be competitors for the Buffalo Bills because they feel like a lock every year to win at minimum 12 games, as most as 14, 15 games when the season is right. But this is a team with Drake May at quarterback, with the head coach I like, with all the draft picks and the free agency and the cap space in the world. They're going to be the biggest players this year. And go out there, get some moves for your defense and get some moves for Drake May. See what we can do next year.
Mike Vrabel has already told us what his philosophy is for the team. He wants to run the ball. So I think the number one thing that we're going to see the Patriots attack this offseason is the offensive line. I think they're probably going to sign 2 at least quality offensive linemen to add to the offensive line. I feel like the only persons that are safe really is Micah Onwenu and then Cole Strange possibly, but even
they just like on the Barmore
cusp.
Too, right?
Christian Barmore, on the defensive line. So he dealt with blood clots last year, but this year he should be healthy and ready to go. No, they have, like you said, they have a lot of young talent. You have Drake May, Christian Gonzalez, Christian Barmore, Keon White, Jelani Tavai revived his career with the Patriots.
Receiver Demario Douglas too.
Pop Douglas is good. Yeah, so they have some talent there. So I think we're going to see them aggressively attack offensive line, probably add 2+ quality starters, and then like you mentioned, like getting a running back in the draft, in a draft that is running back heavy. Mike Vrabel wants to run the football. We can see the Patriots become a team that is going to be built inside out through the trenches. So their top draft picks, while I would love Ted McMillan to go to the Patriots, I wouldn't be surprised if all of their top level assets are spent on offensive line, defensive line, running back, building that out, and then adding wide receiver maybe on day 2 of the draft and just building it that way. Adding some veteran presence to the team. Like maybe it won't be T. Higgins, but maybe it's somebody like Chris Godwin, or maybe it's somebody like that where it's not something that's going to move the needle too much, but you have a better foundation around Drake May, because the number one thing is just to protect him and make sure he's not going to get hurt.
Yeah, you can get a running back in day 4, and he turns out to be the best running back in the class.
Only 3 days of the draft, but facts.
Oh, I'm sorry. Day 3. Apologize. You get a running back in day 3, and it's like he turns out to be the best running back in the class. Yeah. The class is so loaded. And like you mentioned, and you have a small window with a rookie quarterback on a rookie deal, because then you got to start paying him. And of course, you can make all these reconstructions and stuff like that, but you have this short window where you have to kind of build now. And, the direction New England could go is maybe not super, super aggressive, but aggressive and safe. If Chris Godwin's on the market, okay, you give him a safe deal. He's coming off an injury. You don't attach too much money. You don't give him a long-term deal, but let him prove it. And then you figure out, next year.
I think we're going to see a lot of the teams with rookie quarterbacks from this past season be aggressive. Sure. Like we see Washington, we see New England, we see Chicago, even Denver. They're all going to be aggressive. The only team that doesn't have the assets to be aggressive is Atlanta. Even Minnesota, if they don't bring back Sam Darnold, they're going to be ultra aggressive too because they have a rookie quarterback.
There's not a lot of draft picks.
Yeah, Atlanta's just the only team that really they don't have the cap space to really build around Penix like that.
$160 million.
Yes, exactly. But everybody else, those are probably going to be the major players, and New England. I think New England can make a big jump.
Was it Pitts that said draft me in fantasy? I saw some quote. I don't know if it was him.
So
right?
bring him to Philly. We'll get him right.
Honestly, he goes to Philly, he'll probably get right.